All right, welcome back to part two here of this little drop game we're going to create. So last time we made the player as its own scene. We've made our level one. We brought one into the other. It's not really an exciting game at the moment, but let's keep building just to see how this is going to work together. So remember, great thing about having a little planning document. You go quickly back to it and you say, okay, well I've got the player here. Now I need some kind of collectible, then I'll need a score and a spawner. So we can divvy up the tasks, or I just have a kind of direction that I'm going with. So again, whenever possible, we're going to be making our own scenes, our different scenes, so that we can easily break this game up. So in this case, I'm going to make a collectible here, and this is going to be an area 2D is my node that I'm going to be working with, and we'll just call this collectible. And works very similar to the player, right? We're going to need a sprite 2D to go with that, and I'm gonna use the same icon here just to make it really simple. Let's shrink this down a little bit. There we go, just so I can differentiate it from my player. And then it also needs a collision shape there, so I know where the edges of it are. And so I'm going to make my collision shape and make it not a capsule, a square or a rectangle collision shape, and just drag it up to around the edges. And again, you're going to hopefully make your own and get better graphics than that. Now, similarly, we're going to need a script because these are going to be falling from the sky. So I attach a script to the collectible and make sure it comes up as a new file there. And so you've now again got more and more options and more divisions. All of it pulls together, and that's one of the great things that GitHub can help you do. In this case, it's a area 2D, so we don't use the move and slide feature, but what we can do is say something like position dot y equals position dot y plus, I don't know, let's try 5 and see how that works. I'm going to save this as a collectible and bring it back into the scene. And again, if you wanted, somebody else could be doing this. You could be working together collaboratively at the moment. I haven't even shared this or pushed it yet, but it's definitely, you could start breaking up or divvying up these tasks right away if you wanted, or maybe you just want to sit with each other and do some partner programming. In this case, I'm going to bring it into level 1. I'm going to instantiate a collectible now, just to see how this works. And if I zoomed in, you can see there's my little collectible, and I'm just going to test it out. I'm going to play and see what happens. There we go, and I could get that. Now at the moment it just goes right through. There's no programming about how they two interact, but you can see how we could start to create that kind of game. I might make it a little bit faster. I may also want to make my player move a little faster, but you can start deciding how that's going to work. But now I have a collectible there as well, so I want to keep adding. Let's see, I'm going to need more collectibles to be coming down random times. So I'm going to want some kind of spawner. And I could also put the score in here first. Depends on how we want to work it. I think I'm going to make a spawner as well. And then we can worry about the score a little bit later. Or yeah, let's do it that way. So again, we're going to create a new node. In this case, I can just use a 2D scene, I guess. Doesn't really matter. It's a pretty generic node here, and I'm just going to call this spawner. And spawner doesn't really, I don't need to see spawner. Spawner's just going to live on my scene and create the collectibles. So in order to do that, we need a script here. Attach a spawner script, and you can see how quickly that all of the parts start to build here, and then how quickly we could be able to manipulate them and assign people tasks to be able to create and change these here. In this case, there is one extra thing I need. I am going to make a timer node on here so that on a regular basis, this thing goes around and around. Let's do it. I'm going to turn on auto start, and I'm going to make a wait time of 1 second. And then switch over to my node, and I have a timer timeout signal. And again, if you're brand new to Godot, you're just going to have to kind of follow along or talk with some friends. But a timer timeout is a signal. When the 1 second is up, it sends a little like alert or an alarm back to itself. If you wanted to. Right now it's not connected up to anything, but if I double click here, and I can connect that back to the spawner code. And this unit will have a look at doing this in code as well. Makes things work a little bit easier. But there we go. Now, back to my program. Now I have a little alarm basically to say when the timer times out, I want to create an instance of my collectible. So a couple things I need to do right at the beginning. I'm going to say var preload. Oh, sorry, var collectible equals preload. There we go. And then I will preload this scene. So this makes sure that we can do this really quickly. It's kind of loading that collectible scene into its memory and then storing it in a variable called collectible. So when the timer goes off, I am going to make a new version of that. So I'm going to say var new collectible equals collectible dot instantiate. And what this basically means is, again, if this is brand new to you, I have a collectible. That is the collectible that I built, a scene of it. I'm going to make an instance of it. I'm going to create it from thin air, and poof, now I have one of them, and I might have multiple ones. So I need to store the one I just created. So I store it in a variable called collectible, new collectible. I can then add child, because at the moment there is no collectible. I need to put it as a child of one of my scenes here to make it work. So I'm going to add child, the new collectible, and that's going to add it as a child of the spawner, which is kind of handy because the spawner is just sitting over there on the edge. And then I could move this somewhere. At the moment, let's just put it right at the. It's going to go exactly where the spawner is. So let's just put that spawner somewhere useful for a second. But let's save this scene as a spawner, and then go back to my level 1. You can see here we are. So I am going to instantiate the spawner node, and you can't really see it. It just appears in the corner here. You can see if I hover over top, there is my spawner. So I'm just going to plop the spawner right here for now. Well, let's put it right in the middle of the screen. So what I should get is every second a new collectible will appear here. And because the collectibles move themselves, it should rocket down from the sky here. And let's see what happens if I play this scene, if my game's coming along as I expected it to. Oh, there we go. And I can run and try and grab it. And now I have this giant chain of collectibles just appearing at the top. And that's not bad, but let's make it vary a little bit here. And so what we want to do is go into my spawner code, and every time the timer times out, I want to add the new timer, but then I want to get a spawn position. Var spawn pose, I'll call it, equals, and really we're worried about the X here. The Y, I always want it to be off the screen. So I'm worried about the X here. So I need some kind of random number. And there's a couple ways of doing this. The first way is to just know how wide your screen is. And you may remember under project settings that our screen is 1080 wide. So I could get a random number between 0 and 1080. However, we can also say, oops, let me just pause there. There, sorry about that. And so the spawn position is going to be a random number between, say, the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So I can say rand I range for random integer range. Now it wants a smallest number, so I could go 0 if I wanted it way on the left-hand side. You might want to bring it in case you don't want to go right to the edge, but I'll start with 0 for here. And then remember, it's that 1080 if I wanted, but that might change depending on what I'm doing. So we can get I believe it's get window dot get content size. I think they've changed this in Godot 4. It's sorry, it's content scale size. And then, so this is basically, even if I squish the screen or make the screen bigger, it'll always figure out how big the content of the screen is. And in this case, I only care about the width or the X part of that. So I'm going to say period X. So that should give me a number between 0 and however wide my screen is as the spawn position. And then I can simply just say position dot x equals spawn pose. And let's see, I don't know if I need the global there, but let's test it out and have a look. Oh, and you see, yeah, we're getting this wonderful moving around, but that's not exactly what I was hoping for. You'll notice all of the characters are moving around, and I know what I did there. So this is the position dot x is the position of spawner. I actually want to change the position of the new collectible to there. So I can say new collectible dot position dot x rather than my spawn thing moving around, so that now each collectible is going to move and not all of them jumping around, following the parent, which is the spawner. Let's give that a test and see here if we now have, yes, collectibles falling from the sky. Some of them look like they may have gone off there. Now, I'm not collecting them yet, but you can also see how it would be a little more challenge to kind of jump over as they are moving around. Obviously, this is maybe a bit fast too, but we can increase the speed as we increase the movement speed, and you're starting to get yourself a game. So let's finish off this in the next part, or at least get the collection going. Maybe we'll start some score as well.